Hello everyone, this is Galaxy47125 here with my first video of 2021. First, I want to say thank you so much for 203 subscribers. To think that 203 of you like the videos I make. I appreciate it immensely, thank you for subscribing, and let's get into this special video. Now I think we can all agree that 2020 has been a mostly bad year due to a certain virus outbreak, political anarchy that I couldn't be bothered about, the deaths of several famous real-life heroes like Chadwick Boseman and Rick May, and more issues that I either don't remember or choose to forget. However, 2020 has been a good year for Transformers fans. The Earthrise line came out, Cyberverse's third season aired, the Netflix's new War for Cybertron TV show kicked off, and I discovered a really cool place called That 80s Toy Store, where they can buy and sell toys from all different times. Last year, I can certainly say that I got a lot of things, and they've all been mostly really good, so what I wanted to do was make a list of 15 of the best things that I got last year. So, this is going to be my top 15 Transformers of 2020. Now, the main caveats are that this list will be made up of things that I have gotten last year, and that weren't just brand new items, and especially the ones that I found that were the coolest. So without further ado, let's begin. Starting us off at number 15, we have a pair of bots who really intrigued me because of the sheer playability they have, and ever since they were announced, I really wanted them, because I think they're the most interesting thing to come out of Transformers Earthrise. It is the modulators Ironworks and Airwave. These two have had an interesting history, starting off as G1 Micromasters back in the 80s, and now Hasbro has made new toys of the bases, but have given them robot modes, as you see here. Ironworks turns into, well, an Ironworks station, and an optional communication tower mode to pay a reference to the original Ironworks set. On the other hand, Airwave transforms from a skinny ramped airbase, a grounded aircraft carrier, and an artillery encampment, which is also a reference to the original airbase. Inspired by the previous line's weaponizers, these two are able to be pulled apart and turned into weapons and armor for other figures. You could also use Battlemasters like Double Crosser, Slitherfang, and Sound Barrier to connect to these special ramp ports and make like a little Transformers City playset for your Micromasters. These guys are really good, and I do highly recommend them if you want to try out something different. At number 14, I really wanted this figure ever since it was announced, because I am partially a movie Transformers fan. Marching off of the big screens and into the Studio Series line is Leader Class Dark of the Moon Shockwave. Now, next to Movie Brawl, this is probably one of my favorite movie designs, and I'm very glad to have him. I even still own his Dark of the Moon MechTech Voyager figure from all the way back then, but I figured if they were doing a new, more screen-accurate figure for Studio Series, it was time to get a new one. He never transformed in the film, mind you, but he does transform into a Cybertronian tank with some shared parts and retooling from their Revenge of the Fallen Megatron figure, as you can see. There are some tank treads here. Now, he comes with a few accessories, which are an in-scale Nest Paratrooper and really tiny figures of Wheelie and Brains. I never cared about the accessories, but I still have them around, because all my attention is going to this guy. Although, if you are a fan of the movies, and if you're thinking about getting this, I say you should. It is a very good figure. Moving on to number 13 is none other than the treacherous schemer himself. It's Earthrise Voyager Starscream. Where do I even start with this thing? He's got a nice clean robot mode and a near perfect jet mode for most Hasbro Transformer jet modes. I really feel like Hasbro has peaked with this design, and they've already made a ton of repaints. They've made Thundercracker, Skywarp, they've done some retooling to make new versions of the Conehead Seekers, Thrust, Ramjet, and Dirge, and even a long-forgotten G2 relic in the form of Generation Select Sandstorm. What else is there to say? This is going to probably be the perfect Seeker mold for a long time. And as one of my first Voyager figures from Earthrise, it's left a very good impression on me. At number 12, we are venturing back to the time of Robots in Disguise 2015 to look at a figure that I nearly forgot existed, but remembered because I wanted it due to the character tied to it. A find from that 80s toy store, it is Robots in Disguise Warrior Class Megatronus, otherwise known as The Fallen. I have always loved the character of The Fallen, the Judas of Transformers, servant of Unicron, the guy Optimus Prime demanded to give him his face, and now the tragic murderer of Solus Prime? What else could go wrong for him? It's a nice figure with a simplistic transformation into a Cybertronian tank, which was also remolded into a Robots in Disguise bludgeon, which looked really nice. I love this little spear weapon he also comes with as well, which could either be handheld or, as I prefer, left stored in the arm. I was hoping to get a good figure of The Fallen for my collection. It was either going to be the Titanium series figure or this one, and since I found this guy at that 80s toy store, I opted to get this one instead, and I am all happy for it. At number 11, we venture into the Cyberverse to take a look at a toy of one of their new original characters. This is Cyberverse Battle Call Meteor Fire. I'm gonna say this, as soon as I saw Meteor Fire on the Cyberverse TV show, I fell in love with him. This character takes a big homage and pays massive tribute to the famous crocodile hunter Steve Irwin, hosting his own TV show called Alien Hunt, also co-hosted by a new gender-bent incarnation of Cosmos. I love Meteor Fire as a character so much, his toy needed to be a must. This toy is a unique one, featuring some interesting spark armor for the toy, and as the name suggests, his main gimmick is a battle call. You flick this switch on his shoulder, and his chest will light up, and there's a light that responds to your voice, which will flash, and it's a really neat feature. While his alternate mode isn't quite close to his show model, I think it's as good as it's gonna get for this. Crikey, mate! This is a good character who pays a very sweet tribute to a very famous biologist. Coming in at number 10, get ready to roll out and weaponize. For this one is a figure that I missed out on, but I'm glad to have it now. It's Siege Cog! This was actually a cog owned by a YouTuber called Firebite27, and he was selling it on eBay, so I jumped on the chance and got him now, and after missing out on him, I'm glad I did. Cog's main gimmick, aside from his two different vehicle mode configurations, is being pulled apart and used as weapons for your other characters via the combat system. I really loved Cog, and I especially loved him when he made an appearance as one of the main cast members in the Netflix show. Say what you will about parts forming, I say the weaponizers made parts forming cool. At number 9, we're headed back to Studio Series for this next one. Better duck for cover, it's Studio Series Blitzwing! I loved the Bumblebee movie so much, and now while I wish Blitzwing here was a triple changer instead of a seeker, he was still amazing to see on screen as an enemy for Bumblebee. And I decided to grab his Studio Series toy because it looked really good, and no shock, it is pretty good! Definitely a unique transformation from robot to jet mode, and he's got quite a few accessories, which would be his arm cannon and, I've got it stored here, the weapon he used to tear out Bumblebee's voice box, which I call the Delarynxinator. And as far as the Studio Series figures goes, he's absolutely drenched in beautiful details and paint applications. If you like the Bumblebee movie but are not sure about getting this figure, I say you should. This is almost a picture-perfect representation of Blitzwing. At number 8, this might be a controversial hot take, but I think these two definitely deserve a spot on this list. It's Transformers Earthrise RC and Netflix Elita 1. Now, Earthrise RC, as far as I know, has been quite a controversial figure for many reasons, such as like the backpack, the way it transforms, and just people having tons of flaws about this figure. Me personally, I'm just happy to have a new mainline figure of G1RC, because I really like it. Then, a lot of people are going to say that Elita 1 rocks this mold more. This is based off her appearance in the new Netflix War for Cybertron show, and I say this does look pretty good in comparison, but unfortunately she will share some of the same flaws like the backpack. But again, like I said with RC, personally I'm just happy to have new figures of some iconic female Autobots. I don't know about you, but these are good. That's all I can say. Rolling into number 7, we take a look at a 7-in-1 pack of tiny bots. It is the Revenge of the Fallen Legends Class Devastator. Now, when Studio Series Devastator was announced, I initially was not interested because I, well, one, still owned my Revenge of the Fallen Supreme Class Devastator, and would have preferred having this guy, but since I already now own 4 of the Constructicons, I need to get the rest of them. But I found this guy at an antique store at my local mall for $19.99, and let me tell you, this was worth it. All 7 of these little Legends Class Constructicons transform from construction vehicles to robots, and as you see, parts of Devastator. Honestly, this is a nice figure, and I can't wait to compare this to the giant that'll be Studio Series Devastator. So what else can I say? But let there be devastation. Teleporting into number 6 is a toy that I wanted to get due to nostalgia hitting me after rewatching Transformers Cybertron, my childhood TV show, again after several decades. Mischievous and maybe from Planet X, it's Cybertron Sideways. Sideways has been a mysterious enigma in the Transformers mythos for years, and I don't know if we're going to even see this character again after Revenge of the Fallen. But growing up with Transformers Cybertron, this guy, whenever I saw him on TV, I knew he was trouble. And I really like this toy. This was something I found at that 80s toy store, which also had a bin full of Cybertron toys, and I'm really happy to get Sideways. He's one that I never had, but since I know he's Unicron's servant, I wanted to get him. One of my favorite things about him has to be not only his spaceship alternate mode, but obviously the Cyber Key activated faction swapping shield weapon. Honestly, I hope we get a new incarnation of Sideways, even if it's like something totally different. But if there's a new incarnation that pays respect to this, I'd be down to see it. At number 5 is probably one of the most interesting adventures that I had last year as a hunt for completion. In response to their re-release for Generation Selects, I decided to get the Power of the Prime's Terrorcons. Now back in 2018, I was in vacation in Florida and I happened to buy Sinner Twin and have owned him for years. And in response to the Generation Selects G1 cartoon accurate Abominus set, I wanted to finish this guy. So fortunately, I found the rest of the Terrorcons at the Niagara Emporium, and now I sit here with my first complete Generations Gestalt. And boy, am I happy with this. The Terrorcons on their own are very nice, very good robot modes, fantastic monster modes, and obviously, this is a very awesome figure. Beat it, G1 Predaking! This is a more interesting Quintesson creation than you could ever be. Rolling out onto Netflix and into my hands at last, number 4 is a figure that I wanted but I couldn't get to until a year later. It's War for Cybertron Siege Optimus Prime. Now I know that the Earthrise Optimus exists, but to be honest, I don't really want it. It's just this, but in Earth mode styles, with a trailer that makes it $10 or $20 more than this. And I'd rather have just a Transformer without something like a box of wheels on it. And Siege Optimus definitely was a fantastic figure, and I just needed him for many reasons. One being, I already have Siege Megatron, so I wanted his exact counterpart. And I just needed a really good Optimus Prime for my collection, so thankfully this was there for him. And now, with Netflix Elite 1, I can reunite these two at last. I know people are going to prefer the Earthrise version over this, but I think this has just as much of the touch and the power. My choice for number 3 was an absolute blinder of a Christmas gift. As if getting the G1 reissue Hot Rod during Christmas of 2019 wasn't awesome enough, my uncle was very kind enough to surprise me with the G1 Autobot clones Fastlane and Cloudraker. These were also something from that 80s toy store that he got, and as you can see, these two are complete with their accessories and something extra. The store owner had the instructions, which he told my uncle that these are rare to find. So, like, best Christmas gift ever! Now, initially, I never was interested in these two or Pouncer Wingspan, but with these two now, I like them. Pure 1987 daftness, and I'm on board with it. Plus, who needs the Biosphere Generations pack of these two when I could just get the original toys? We're in the clone zone now! Peoples of YouTube, please attend carefully, because at number 2, no matter if you're judged guilty or innocent, you will still be judged by the Earthrise Quintesson Judge. Let me tell you this, ever since this was announced that Hasbro was going to make an official toy of the Quintessons, I was so excited I needed this. I would relentlessly go window shopping, hoping to see this guy on the shelves, but to no avail. Then I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna get this as a Christmas gift. Let me tell you, this guy is everything that I hoped for from this figure. I mean, aside from Energon Alpha Quintesson, you tell me when the Quintessons ever got a toy. Exactly. I am aware that the alt mode is kind of stupid, but I don't mind it. It adds to the modular city functions, like with Ironworks, Airwave, Scorponok, and Skylynx. And they had to give this an alt mode because, well, because how can you sell a Transformer if it doesn't transform and isn't something like an Action Master or those new red figures? The Quintesson Judge was definitely one of my most highly anticipated purchases of 2020, but there is one more, and it's actually a holy grail of mine, and I was very lucky to find. But before we get to number 1, I need to go through some honorable mentions that I have. Honorable mentions include the Studio Series Constructicons. I have 4 out of 8 of them, which are Scavenger, Scrapper, Skipjack, and Hightower. They're all good on their own, and I can't wait to finish them and make that colossal Devastator. Then I also have Kingdom Vertebrake, very nice figure. I'm all for these new Transformers turning into dinosaur skeletons, let me tell you. Then another honorable mention goes to Revenge of the Fallen Bludgeon, probably the best Bludgeon figure of all time. Studio Series Age of Extinction Grimlock. I was hesitant about him because he was going to be huge, but now that I've got the big lug, I really like it. Movie Grimlock was so cool. And last but not least, a find from that 80s toy store, Animated Shockwave. I wanted his toy back when Animated was out, but I never got him, so owning him now is a treat. And now, let's move on to number 1. At number 1 is a holy grail that I've wanted for the longest time. An absolute nobody from Takara's Robot Masters line. This is Reverse Convoy / Rebirth Megatron. I don't know why, but this guy is one of my favorite characters, and yet, outside of Robot Masters, he's basically been forgotten, and I want more of him. I was very fortunate to get this loose copy off of eBay, who was priced at $60, because normally I would see people selling this guy for $200, and that's just insane. He does not have his reverse blaster, which would be hiding his Rebirth Megatron head back here. But because he's in such good condition and he actually does have his missile, I could care less. This mold, which is the Combat Hero Megatron mold, it just amazes me how ahead of its time this was and how good it is even today. This is as much of a holy grail as Armada Unicron, and I'm so happy to have it. This had to be my #1 Transformer from 2020. Well, we did it! I think that was a very nice retrospective on my Transformers purchase history, honestly. 15 of these things, the 15 you saw today is probably not even half of what I got. And yeah, while I know 2020 has been terrible, we pushed through and we need to look to the future. It's now 2021, we need to start looking forward. If you all like this video, please make sure to leave a like and a comment. If you want more, please subscribe to my channel and turn on that bell for notifications, and share this with your friends if you're interested. Thank you once again for over 200 subscribers. I honestly don't deserve it, but I thank you so much for it. Thank you to Kevin Gols on the Dr. Lockdown Discord server for suggesting that I do a top 15 instead of a top 10. Thanks to Firebite27 for selling his Siege Cog. This has been my top 15 Transformers of 2020, and this has been Galaxy Force 7125. I'll see you guys next time.